Charlie.
How's it going, man?
What's up, dog?
Just like always, not worthy. Not worthy.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Third time's the charm. Man, I have a big question for you.
Okay.
As you know, Supernatural ended not too long ago, correct? Around 15 seasons. Jensen and Jared, good friends of yours, I found a clip on YouTube. Apparently, you almost made their season 1 gag reel, but they didn't know they were going to be picked up for the plot. And apparently, you were inside the Impala. So the director was just like, "Okay, Sam and Dean, come. What's that called? What's Tom doing in there?"
Yeah. So I didn't know. So they were shooting Vancouver. I was shooting Vancouver, and I was on my way home, and it was like 2:30 in the morning, and I saw Supernatural was there, and a lot of the people who worked on that crew would shift over to our crew. Yeah. And it turns out I did know the director, but the quick story is they get in, the Winchesters get into the Impala and they pull up to a bar. So there's 2 guys who are supposed to get out. All of a sudden, 3 guys get out. And one who's, about the same size as the bigger one. And they're like, what the hell? Nobody ever would mess. And then so when they came around, it was me. And then they were like, "Oh, come on!" It's one of the best pranks I've ever done in my life. Because they couldn't get mad at me.
That's amazing.
In a way, because I knew them all. But at the same time, we did something that no one ever does. Yeah.
You did the crossovers before anybody else started fashionable.
I guess it was a crossover. I didn't think of that. They should have kept rolling. They should have kept rolling.
Oh,
those guys are great. I mean, Jensen was on Smallville for a season, and I got to know Jared really well. And those guys are fantastic.
Yeah. Well, time's going up. I seen Michael Rosenbaum's podcast. Congratulations on being a dad again, man.
Thanks,
You're
Doc.
amazing. You rock.
Thank you. Good
time.
to see you.
It.
Guys, some of the fans of Smallville might know a show called Supernatural. Jensen and Jared are buddies. And they lived not too far away from where I did in Vancouver for some time. And it was toward the end of the season, and I had some stuff that they borrowed at their house, but they were on set, and I wrapped, so I went to go get it. And the code to the alarm to their house, I put it in, it didn't work. I put it in, by the 3rd time it didn't work, the alarm goes off. And we're in Canada, British Columbia, Vancouver. The alarm goes off. I mean, it's loud, and it's like a nice house. And I'm like, what? Well, all right, well, I got nuts. So I sit down on the steps, and within 3 minutes, cop calls the phone in, like 4 cop cars. They're like, "Hey, wait, get down. And I'm already sitting, and I'm like, "It's okay, guys. My friend lives here." And they're like, "Yeah, we've heard that before." I'm like, no, my friend Jared and Jensen, like, they live here. But they were putting their hands behind their head. They cuffed me. They put me against the wall, and I'm like, really? And the one guy has me against the wall, and he goes, "By the way, I love your show, dude. It's a great show." And I'm like, "Awesome, thanks. I really appreciate that." And not 10 minutes later, Jared comes home from work, and he's like, "No, that's my buddy." And they uncuffed me. I'm like, "Sorry." And then they all just left, and I was like, that was horrible. That was no fun.
I wonder, Tom.
I got the Smallville part.
Yeah, exactly. What's your favorite memory of shooting season 4 of Smallville with Jensen Eklze?
Oh, Jensen was great. Jensen, it was between Jensen and I for the final audition for Clark. And I remember walking in and seeing him and being like, man, this guy's really handsome. And he's obviously an actor. Like, he had been acting. I mean, if he was acting one day, that was more than I had really been doing. He was like a pro. And, I fortunately won. And then he became the coach. And that was fun, because we were kind of looking at each other relatively the same age. And he's like, "I'm supposed to be older than you right now." And we're like, "All right, let's go." And then, he was able to find some success after Smallville as well. He did okay. But I love him and Jared. They're great guys. I would sneak on the set onto their set sometimes to mess with them, because we had a lot of same crew members and things like that. And I always hoped that somehow Jared could be on Smallville or I could have been on Supernatural, but I don't know why it didn't work out, but that would have been fun.
Definitely.
Because the cast was really well cast. I mean, it was a really...
Yeah. I would say
Go ahead, say it, you smart ass. Aside from Lex Luthor, I know what he's doing. I know what he's doing. But it was.
I was just really surprised of the other guy who turned the role down, which then a lot.
Who is that? What's funny is
Jared Leto.
Zach Levi and I talk about it. Zach Levi was up for Lex. Jensen, I think, was up for Lex. Anson Mount was up for Lex.
I feel like Zach Levi was up for Lex and Clark.
Probably because he's good looking enough to where he could play both. Right?
Yeah, and talented, but it was me and Jensen.
Right.
I mean, I remember going. I mean, we've talked about this before, but I remember going in for the actual audition or the what do you call, not a self tape. It's what do you call it when you go in front of
testing?
Testing.
You tested.
And I walk in, and there's this like wonderfully handsome guy who I'm like, I think this guy's a real actor. It was Jensen, who then turned out to be my, Clark's football coach years down the road.
Yeah, dating Lana, which was really weird. That wouldn't happen right now in today's world.
No.
You notice that? You don't know that yet.
Yeah.
But Jensen Ackles becomes a high school football coach and then starts dating Lana, who's like a sophomore in high school.
You guys are all the same age. How does that?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's
how
illegal.
It just wouldn't happen now. It was a different time period. I think things that, when you watch things that are years ago, I think sometimes they're jarring because things change.
Yeah. One of those things.
A new title co-star, Jensen Ackles as Jason Teague.
I got to say, I remember when he came on the show and I was like, man, this guy deserves his own show. I think he could do something.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he'd already had a full career.
Well, he also auditioned for Smallville, didn't get it.
Yeah, it's weird seeing him on the show now and thinking if he was Clark Kent through the series so far, it just feels like it wouldn't have been.
Well, you always say that, but if he was and then Tom, you might have said the same thing.
Yeah, probably.
You only think of Tom as the role.
Right.
He just did. So I can't imagine anyone playing the role. But if someone else played the role, maybe I don't
There's
know.
another
Like if someone was Lex
happened.
Luthor, it'd be different. Maybe he'd be the best Lex Luthor.
You imagine me and Jared on Supernatural?
Thoughts on the Jensen introduction? Well, working with Jensen was always amazing. I didn't have a ton with him, but when we worked together, he was just fun. He was just ready to do anything. He was easy to work with. He was professional. He just always did a great job,